I'm back with the legendary Dov S-S Simens. This episode, we're going to keep it pretty tight here, hopefully in about 30 minutes or less, um, about film financing. And when I first met Dov about 20 years ago, I attended his 2-day film school. And the second day, I know this is going to be tough, a lot of information here, was all about financing. And I don't know if I shared with this, Dov, but I was in Orlando at the time. I had done a few very, very low budget films, and you had some sort of discounts. Like, hey, if you brought like 2 people, you can get a lower ticket price. If you bring 3 or 4 people. So I invested for 4 of my producing partners. We drove down to Miami. You've mellowed out a lot. You were yelling and screaming so much that one of the girls in the front row, she didn't come back the second day. But that tough love, and this is the truth, 6 months after that boot camp, we raised our $1.5 million to do our next film. So with that, take it away, Dov, and please pay attention to these words of wisdom.
I'm a human. You know what? The only thing I'm thinking about, what did I do to that woman? I'm sorry. Actually,
You got people's attention, which is good.
couple of the greatest compliments I've gotten was one from a woman. Called me and said, Dov, I know you don't remember me. I was in your class, and after the class, I dumped the bum. It's the same. It took me a pause. Oh, it got her into action. Stop thinking about it, Dylan. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it.
What's the action about getting your money, financing
Okay,
your movie?
focus is money, 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 money. This is show business. It's money. I know the most important thing people say it's the script, it's the talent, it's passion, which is all absolutely important. But the key is money, 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 and getting the money. So we're going to spend about 20 to 30 minutes of about 15 minutes to get a foundation down. And then the last 5 minutes, the nuts and bolts of how to raise the money for your first no budget or low budget independent feature film, your first one. But about 15 minutes of getting a foundation down for you, because everybody has pieces of information. Every article you read about, you always want to know what's the budget, how'd they get the money. Then you find out about cans, pre-sale, pay-per-view, do this, we can get rebates, refunds, we can sell logos, product placement, it's here. And you take everything out of context and you start thinking you can raise the money with everything out of context. So the first about 10 to 15 minutes, I'll put things in context to understand. Hollywood, show business, money. First off, film and movie are not the same words. You are not you, Scott. People are independent filmmakers, and nobody wants a film. We want movies. When does a film become a movie? When it's in a movie theater charging admission. Now it's a commodity. It's worth $12 or $15. It has a value. Now, when a film goes into a theater and charges admission, the studios are hoping at max that they can get a 2% response. 2% of the population comes and sees it over 2 weekends. America has 330 million people. If a film goes into a theater and charges admission and it's a movie, and over 2 weeks, 2% of America comes to see it. Of 330 million people, that means it sold 6.6 million tickets, times about $12. That's $80 million. It just grossed in 2 weeks.
That's
Box
Twister. That's Twisters. This weekend, over 2 weeks,
That's what they go. That's the formula. 2%.
$80 million.
That's it. But that's called now the phrase box office gross. That's the word gross. That's not the word profit. It's not the word profit. This film just grossed 80 million. Where does the profits come from? What did the other 98% of the people in America do that saw the ad or the promo or the social media and think it's a movie, but they had something to do in their life that weekend? They have a wedding, they're tired, they're napping, whatever, they don't go. But there's this thing out there that's worth $12. They want to see it. So the other 98%, where the profits come from, are those secondary revenue streams. That's what we're going to talk about. That's where the profits are, so you learn the puzzle. And when I say when you learn the puzzle, Scott, I know you understand it. This is for your viewers. That's there. So first off, starting off, everybody, I used to yell. Most people, when they're raising the money, uh, start off with, there are two types of producers. There's the producer deal maker and the producer filmmaker. The producer deal maker is most of your listeners right now. They're trying to figure out how to make a deal to get the money to make a film. It's not going to happen
Yeah, good
on your
luck.
first project. You got to be a producer filmmaker. You got to make a film, and then you can make a deal. That's there. We'll wrap that up when we get about 15 minutes from now. It'll make some common sense. Remember, people make films. Hollywood wants movies. A film is not a movie. You got to get it to be a movie, then it has a value. Then it has a value. Okay, let's start off. 1960. In the 60s, 60 years ago, Hollywood. They'd make a feature film, they put it in theaters, money. Then, about 3 or 6 months later, they license it to foreign. There weren't many theaters in the world then. And then in America, it would go to TV. New word, windows and revenue. The window. Window means, and you're going to hear the phrase, your listeners will hear the phrase, the windows are shrinking. By the way, the windows shrank. It doesn't exist anymore post pandemic. But in the 60s, the windows was the phrase going from theatrical to TV. It took about 18 months. Took about 18 months. That was in the 60s. And there were three really revenue streams. The big one was theatrical, foreign was a little bit, it was worth the money, and the TV sale. Of course, there's book rights, album rights, all this other little stuff that's there, and they're all nice. In the 70s, what happened is the foreign industry. They started building theaters. We're building theaters, but they're building theaters. And in the 70s, the window shrunk from theatrical US to TV to about 12 months. So first we put it in a theater, cinema. Foreign sales was bigger, good. And we had music rights, book rights. Some of those started popping up with some nice numbers. And the TV, the window went down to about 12 months with some more revenues. Then let's go the 80s. The window shrunk to about 10 months from theatrical to TV. Wait, what also happened in the 80s is we had cinema and then this thing cable. What is this thing cable? Cable. I didn't know what that was. It was around 1980, 81. Cable. What is this thing? HBO? Showtime? What is this thing? This other stuff? But it was money. And by the way, the foreign market is now building theaters as much or more than we're building theaters in America. And music right, book rights. Oh, by the way, Star Wars, merchandising, toys, licensing. Oh, another revenue stream, and TV sale. So the window went down to about 10 months from theatrical to TV, plus some new revenue streams, cable, merchandising, and foreign is growing. Then the 90s. Okay, the window now goes down to about 9 months, maybe even 8 months from theatrical to TV. And cable started figuring itself out too. There's movie channels, pay cable, and then there's basic cable, makes money off of ads. Oh, so there's cinema, theatrical US, there's HBO sale, Showtime sale. They didn't like each other. Then there's something else happened. VHS videos. What
Huge.
the heck is this thing? All we know is a lot of money. We made a lot more money that wasn't here before. So pay cable's good. Now we got a new revenue stream called video VHS. Foreign is bigger, basic cable. Oh, cool. And a very interesting thing happened late 90s. It's actually 1997. Canada popped up. Canada popped up. It was the city of Toronto, the province of Ontario, nation of Canada, very smart people, very smart nation, and they actually look like us. Their houses look like us, their streets look like us, their clothes look like us. And this nation, Canada, put out a rule, not a law. They said that anybody in the world who comes to Canada and wants to start a business with $1 million or more and invest and hire as Canadians, we will give you a 25% refund. Oh, of all the industries in the world, you know the one that picked up on it right away? Hollywood. Of all the industries. And they jumped at Toronto. Why? Toronto looks like New York, looks like Philadelphia, looks like Boston, looks like Cleveland. So we can take $1 million, 2 million, or $5 million, be it Warner Brothers, Paramount, the studios, or the TV networks, or the pay cable networks, or the basic cable networks. And instead of shooting a feature film or a show in New York or Chicago or Philadelphia, let's shoot it in Toronto. And let's get a 25% refund. And Canadians seem to be, they're nice and they're talented. I don't have a communication problem or language barrier. They just always say in Canada, but they said, we need a couple of Canadian actors in it. So let's hire a couple of Canadian actors that talk like Americans. Don't say A, don't say ooh. And we started shooting in Toronto. Then, about a year later, Vancouver popped up, said, oh, we like that. People, America's sending money up here and getting jobs for us. Oh, and Vancouver went, oh, we look like Portland, Seattle, San Francisco. Oh, if you shoot in Toronto, they give you 25% refund. We'll give you 27% refund. Wow, and it's still going. It's
Started
still
the whole
going.
incentive war.
Yep. And it's the same. Ottawa, Edmonton, Calgary looks like Oklahoma, Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana. Halifax looks like Hyannisport, New England. They do it. So runaway production started along with, in the 90s, pay cable, VHS, foreign's growing, and now we're getting 25 to 30% of budgets from a nation that looks like us. And who doesn't like this are the American states. So instead of shooting in New York or Illinois, we shoot in Toronto, or instead of shooting in Washington or California, we're shooting in Vancouver. So then the states of the 50 states started coming up with their programs. So now we have states are doing programs. They're all doing programs of the 50 states: rebates, refunds, grants, credits, tax credits, and the best ones are the states that do what are nicknamed transferable or assumable tax credits. Transferable or assumable tax credits. The states that do that are Louisiana, Georgia, New Mexico, Connecticut, now Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, and finally California jumped in. I don't have time to explain, but it's become a revenue stream. I can, producers, we know how to inflate the budgets and get the state to give us a transferable tax credit. And then we can sell the tax credit and finance it. And probably the biggest state out there that's doing it the most now is Georgia. Georgia.
Big time, big time.
And did you ever notice that when any movies that had shot in Georgia, they always have a 3-second shot of a road sign, "You are now entering Georgia." That gets you another 10% of the budget when you put that in there. Anyway, revenue streams. So in the 90s, this is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Remember, it's still, you want to make a movie. Wait, you made a film, you got to get it made into a movie to get it the value. Then we can kick off these revenue streams that are there. And then we got this government program that's there. And then foreign sales got so big that other nations that started having theaters, now come the film markets, the American film market, the Cannes film market, not the Cannes Film Festival. At the same time, in this little city, Cannes has two different things going on. There's the film festival, then there's the film market. AFM, Cannes, etc. There's another film market that has a little bit of merit in Germany, Berlin film market. So when you go to a film market, I didn't say film festival, there are 5,000 film festivals. There are maybe 7 film markets. So when you go to a film market, you're the seller, you book a room, and the buyers from Italy, Germany, Japan, Korea, Ecuador, Brazil come into your room and go, "What do you got? Who's in it? What do you got? Who's in it?" There are basically 35 nations or territories other than USA, Canada, that you will sell to for the foreign market. So now the foreign market has started to grow into its an entity. It's not just somebody's got a theater somewhere and they can project. So the film market's got bigger. The year 2000, another thing popped up: DVD. Oh,
Huge.
VHS was sort of big and bulky. We loved it, but DVD is just this little plastic thing that cost 25 cents to knock out. So that was another golden era of DVD. And now the window, by the way, is down to about 6 months. We have in the window, it's in the theaters. Then there's the pay-per-view, or not pay-per-view, excuse me. Then there's HBO, there's VHS, there's now DVD, there's all these other streams, there's merchandising, there's licensing, etc., etc., etc. And now there's this little plastic thing that we're selling for 20 bucks, 30 bucks, 60 bucks, put in a box set of 5 of them. Decadence, decadence. Now let's go to the years 2010. Window is down to about 3 months from it goes in theaters to goes TV with all the other revenue streams. And now pops up a new revenue stream: VOD, streaming, video on demand. There's still DVD, there's still HBO, there's still these other revenue streams. Now there's something called VOD, and something fascinating happened. It was around the year 2005 for me is when my wife at home found out on the TV remote there's a button that's called the VCR button. America changed when women discovered the VCR button. They took the remote out of man's hands. Up until then, I'm a man. I buy cable. I got 100 channels. I'm going to watch them. And darn, every half hour they change the channels. So this is men watch TV. I bought 100 channels. I'm going to watch 100 channels. Women have a different mindset. They actually have attention span that can go for a couple hours. Men don't have that attention span. They want to watch something all the way through. I can't do that. I'm a man. I flick. The VCR. It sort of started with America's Got Talent, Simon Cowell, Dancing with the Stars. My wife would just record it. She hit the DVR button. She recorded. And then she could play it at any time. What a concept. I really didn't understand it for 3 or 4 years. But this industry, video on demand, started growing. And they can see it at any time. It's gotten so big. And then with that, the DVR, a new industry popped in. Logos, product placement. Man, product placement has been around for 70 years. I think It's a Wonderful Life, the Wonderful Christmas Story, It's a Wonderful Life, was National Geographic magazine in the first like 2 minutes of the show.
Oh yeah,
That,
yeah.
that was one of the first product placements, National Geographic. I think African Queen had a Beefeater gin in it, etc. But it was nothing. Uh, when I stumbled into my career of teaching and putting on film schools, I've set up film programs in 32 nations now. Or I don't do it anymore, I'm retired. But I set up programs in 32 nations, and it's a
Wow.
blessing. And in each nation, I'm a little bit of a celebrity. Believe me, when I come home and I see my wife, I'm not a celebrity. but for a couple moments, I sort of feel like that. And I'm always on Good Morning America or Good Morning Dubai, Good Morning Abu Dhabi, Good Morning Malaysia, Good Morning Singapore. I'm on the morning TV shows. And they always ask me, I must love Hollywood. And I go, no. And I see them go, whoa, they don't know how to respond to that. I go, it's a business. I love my wife. I love my children. Hollywood, it's fascinating. I love the business. Well, you must have a favorite movie. Yeah. What is it? Anyone that makes a profit. Well,
There you go.
they don't know what to do with me on TV. I got a 5 minute slot and they want to get me off, and I'm having fun. So they go, you must have a favorite movie. And I go, yes, I do. What's your favorite movie? And I go, tell everybody, all the listeners in your nation, to come closer to the TV. Director up in the booth, get a tight shot on me. I'm actually directing the director up in the booth. And they come in close on me, and I go, okay, hello, Singapore. Hello. Here is my most favorite movie, Sex and the City 2.
Wow, didn't see that coming.
And I went, it's nothing but a commercial. It had 95 logos in it, and you actually talk like it's a movie. And each one of those logos, if I was the producer of the studio, they got $200,000 to $4 million. $200,000 to $4 million for each logo, and they had 95 of them.
Wow.
Every major studio now, with every film they release, when I said film, it becomes a movie that they release, has 75 to 120 logos in it. That's a massive revenue stream. Massive revenue stream. Welcome to 2010. Here's another. By the way, VHS, it's sort of gone. DVD is there, Blu-ray is there, HBO is there, Showtime is there, and now here comes up these Apple. But what's this thing, Apple? What's this thing, Amazon? And who the hell is this Netflix person? And never heard of Hulu or Vudu. More revenue streams for something that becomes a movie. In 2020, the window came down to zero with VOD now there. It can go into theater and it actually, you can see it somehow at home, not a sale to TV, but you think it about streaming. It's called day and date release. Day and date release. And when Netflix, Apple, or Hulu makes one of their own and puts more than enough money into it, they know they want to make us feel it's a movie. So they do that token theatrical release for 2 or 3 weeks. That's there. But now this new world, streaming, it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's eaten up some of the other revenue streams. But
especially
it's still big.
post-pandemic.
Yeah. We're now exactly what you said, Scott. We're now coming to post-pandemic. We're up until now, I spent about 50 years pre-pandemic. Now, pandemic and streaming. Streaming is here. And streaming breaks down to really 3 different types. You know it as VOD. When I say you, your viewers know it as video on demand streaming. But it breaks down to either TVOD, SVOD, or AVOD. Transactional video on demand, or subscription video on demand, or advertising video on demand. And they try other things like there's PVOD, premium or premier video on demand. You can see it even before. So streaming has its own revenue streams, its own world, and it's eaten up a lot of the theatrical world.
Big time.
So there's a big thing. If a film doesn't go into a theater, how does it become a movie? That's the interesting thing now. But we can't yell at this giant Netflix or Apple. They're too big already. So that's the, I don't want to call it a conflict. It's new revenue streams. Pre-pandemic, now all those other pieces of the puzzle and pre-selling and packaging, and with all those revenue streams by pre-selling 2 or 3 of them to get the money to make the film and keeping 3 or 4 revenue streams after distribution to make our profits. That world is sort of, it's not gone, it's still here, but it's not as big. So we got the pre-pandemic world that's still here, but it's not as big, but it's still good. And now the post-pandemic, the streaming world, which is a new world. And it's not going to go away. It's not a fad. It's not a gimmick. So transactional video on demand is sort of thinking Apple. Subscription video on demand, think Netflix. A key for no budget, micro budget is AVOD, advertising video on demand. There are about 500 of these things that are out there, AVODs. They call them, though, FAST, FAST networks. What is it?
Free ad-supported television.
You got it. Thank you.
So,
FAST.
let me ask you this, Dov. Interesting history lesson. I actually took some notes. I learned a lot, and I'm conveying to all of my personal investors, because I just finished a raise myself, and I'm working with some clients, and I do this podcast for everybody. I agree with you. Post-pandemic, you don't have the large windows. You're not going to have a big chance at theatrical. If you do, it's not going to be long. It's a smaller revenue stream. I've been screaming this from the rooftops for years, but especially post-pandemic. Keep your budget's conservative. So in the last 5 or 10 minutes we have, let's just say um, the cash portion that somebody's trying to hypothetically, let's say they're trying to raise $400,000.
Gotcha.
What are some tips? What are some strategies? What is your best advice being in this business for so long? Um, how to get the cash?
Know how to do a dog and pony show.
Expand.
Thank you. I apologize. I like having fun. Life is fun. It really is.
I haven't heard the dog and pony show in a while, but expand.
It's the dog. First, if you're raising 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, which is a fair amount of money, uh, and putting on the dog and pony show. Step one, get a script that you can handle. Try to keep it close to 90 pages, one location. Step one, dog and pony show. You got the script, you got the budget, 200, 300, 400,000. This is private place. It's a private placement. It's not going to Warner Brothers or Paramount or Hulu or Netflix. It's like getting a group of dentists together. Dentists, the wealthiest group of stupid people in North America. They're not stupid, by the way, but they're well to do and they like investing in these things after they have their McDonald's franchise and a Subway's franchise. It's investing, being a Renaissance man. And so get your script that you can handle, a realistic budget, we'll call it 400,000. Do your proper legal work. Spend $3,000 to hire a proper attorney to put a package together. It's called a private placement. You'll incorporate yourself if you own a house to protect your assets. You'll set up a partnership, a limited partnership, in which the incorporation will be the general partner, which is you, protecting your assets, and the limited partnership will protect the assets of the investors that are going to invest. They're limited to only lose the money they're investing. That's it. So step one, script, keep it simple, realistic budget. Step two, step whatever three, then I said, do your legal work. $3,000 to hire an attorney, not a Hollywood big budget attorney, just a local attorney that knows how to do a limited partnership and a private placement. In that paperwork, it'll state that you're raising $400,000. And you're doing that by selling 20 units. They're actually called units, UNITS. They're not stocks, they're not shares, they're units. So maybe you're offering 50% to investors, and you're offering 50% to investors, and you're selling 20 units. And each unit costs $20,000. And it's 2.5% of it gets a unit that's 2.5%. And you're selling 20 of them. So get the script, do your proper legal work. You got a proper budget. Talking no budget people, if you're trying to raise $50,000 and you're selling 25 units at $2,000 each, you should price a unit at a number that you're comfortable with when you turn to a friend, a buddy, and say, let me put you down for a unit, and you don't blink. So if you want to raise $50,000 to make a feature film, script, a 1 week shoot, proper legal work, selling 25 units at $2,000 each. And you can look at your friend and say, let me put you down for a unit. And
Let me drill down. Let me drill down a little bit here. You have the budget, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You have the number of units because you have very, very successful clients. I've seen your client list over the year. Some of them are A-list directors and producers now. What did those guys do, or what is your advice for people, they have the whole package, they have the legal paperwork, they have the units. What do they say to their friend or neighbor? What's the dog and pony show? What's the pitch?
I got you. Let's set up the dog and pony show. So you just have the script. You ask your friend, uh, are you interested or will you help me with my project? And they'll say yes. Give them the script. That's it. Now set up a social function, a party. 2 weeks from now, book a movie theater, a cinema. Every movie theater is for rent anytime you want it. So let's set up a party at a movie theater, book a theater. It'll cost you about $300 for about 4 hours. So we book that. So you tell your investors or your friends, I want to show you a demonstration of the production company. You have the script and you set up the theater. You get a theater. Who are you going to get? Your cinematographer. You got to know who your cinematographer is going to be, and stop thinking about making a short. The short will look horrible. Your cinematographer has a 10-minute demo reel that's got them so many clients. So you're going to do your dog and pony show, book a theater, bring in your cinematographer with a 10-minute demo reel, and bring in 4 or 7 actors to read a couple of scenes. So you're going to spend $500, I don't think $1,000, to set up the dog and pony show. You got about 10, 20, or 50 friends, investors, dentists. Bring them to a social function, a private reading and screening of an independent film project. Wine and cheese and actors will be available. Dentists love coming in and seeing actors and being able to talk to actors. This is your dog and pony show. This is how the ballet does it, the symphony does it, how the opera does it. This is how they raise money. You're going to do the same thing. So you have the script, you have a proper budget, you've done your legal work to get people to give checks to this entity, and they're small numbers. Now set up the show. I make it tacky by calling it a dog and pony show.
Yeah.
This is the party, the social event, and 20, 30, 50 people will come. There'll be wine and cheese. You'll stand up and you'll go tinkle, tinkle, tinkle after you feel everybody who's coming is here, and say, thank you, everybody, for coming and helping the arts. And I'm very happy to be able to show you this first screening and showing of this feature film project. You have the script, make sure everybody has the screenplay. And first, you cue the cinematographer comes in. You introduce, I'm so happy about this cinematographer that's going to be working with us to show you. And he is going to screen his 10-minute demo reel of all the stuff he's worked on. And you'll screen it. It fills the movie theater. It fills the entire theater with the audio that's so loud. Wow.
That's
That's
the show.
only,
That's the dog
that's,
and pony show.
yep, 15,
Quick
20 minutes.
quick example. I'm glad you brought this up, Dov, because one of my friends back in this is a while ago. Um, this is when I was in Orlando, Florida. They were raising, I think it was about $250,000, so modest budget at the time. Instead of a theater, they asked their agent, who's also my agent, really cool lady. Everyone knew Maria in Central Florida at the time, Central Florida talent. And she was the one who had the big house and a great big, like at that time, maybe a 60 or 70-inch screen. They
Sure,
got
that's
about
good.
40 people at the house, a house party. They had wine and cheese. They showed
Mm-hmm.
off the DP, all these cool movies that had shot in Central Florida. The DP was either second unit or first unit working on, or the DP.
Gotcha.
They raised all the money within 2 weeks. So
Yes,
what you just said will work if you do it right.
yes, yes. I make it I sort of like laughter. I'm sort of a stand-up comic, but serious. A
Yeah.
proper script, a proper budget that is realistic, and do a proper presentation with your cinematographer's demo reel, and then 4 or 5 actors. They don't have to be committed to the project. Reading, they're not going to read the entire script. It'll be boring. Reading a little bit, but this is the pretty people. They're the pretty people, and then afterwards you'll have your attorney there give out the private placement for each one with a clipboard and a pen, and ask them to fill it in with how many units they'd like to be put down for. That's it.
And then the last thing I always say, press hard. Third copy's yours. Um,
Cool.
Dov, I really appreciate you coming on. You did the impossible. I asked you to try to take your 2-day film school and crunch it into 2 segments, about 30 minutes. We're a little bit over, but
Oop, I
any any
failed.
any parting words of advice before we say goodbye here?
Well, one, if the dream is driving you crazy, give up the dream. You didn't want to hear that for you. The second is, if you want to get into this industry, you don't need 4 years of film school. Nobody gives a hoot. Start with talent, write the script. 90 pages, one location. Go get a GoPro, 2 digital cameras, and shoot your first feature film. And let's see if we have talent. Start from the bottom. And if you have talent, not desire, talent is not desire, passion, or wishful, that you can do it unique, you'll rise to the top. And the next is, after you make your first no budget, micro budget feature film, stop thinking about you. Who have you helped today? Because the most important thing in the industry is there is a God and luck. The word luck is not the word luck, it's a God. So you got to learn to work with God. So the easiest way to work with God, all he, she, it does, is ask you to do a good thing every day and don't tell anybody about it. Help somebody every day and don't tell anybody about it. Then you're working with God and God gives you a good deed chip. And after you build up a bank account of good deed chips, God is going to let you cash it in because God wants you to be rich and famous. Once you've shown that you have talent, a work ethic, and you're a good person, then God wants you to be famous because now you'll help many, many more people. God bless. The key: script, 90 pages, one location, micro budget, no budget feature, and be a good person.
It's time!
There's never been a better time to make your own film. And if you have a dream project you're excited about and 100% committed to getting it funded, go to financeyourmovie.com, click on the green telephone, you'll see our calendar and find an open spot. We'll do a one-on-one call, which will be the best hour you've ever spent getting clarity and strategy towards financing your movie.